if they start to impose a lot of tariffs for essential ingredients which are not produced in the volume that our U.S. industry needs to consume, that is basically creating a high risk, to the whole logistics, to the whole food chain and feed chain.
Hey everyone, welcome to another Wisenetix Podcast episode, the place where you tune in and learn a lot about the industry, insights, stories, and experiences from leaders in the industry, in agriculture industry. And today we have something, a content that is a little bit more time sensitive. We're going to be discussing here a little bit more about the impact of Trump's second term in agriculture, most specifically in the feed industry. Our guest speaker here is Tiago Ferreira. Tiago is a Brazilian like myself here. He lives in the US. He is the regional market manager for BASF, and he's going to be sharing a little bit about what we can expect in the coming years in the feed industry. From potential tariffs to come, the new US administration, and market disruptions. Welcome, Tiago.
Thank you very much, Ricardo. Appreciated the introduction. Very happy to be here and the opportunity that you gave me to share a little bit of the thoughts, of the possibilities that lies ahead of us with the new administration. Basically, I think we are going to talk a little bit about the tariffs and how this can shape opportunities and risks for the companies that are doing business in the U.S.
Perfect. So let's get started. Tiago, I think just before we jump into our questions, if you want to give a brief introduction on your side, your experience, background.
Yes, sure. So, I'm with BASF for 11 years. Started my career in BASF Brazil. Had a little bit of a role on supply chain side, on the regional product management side, also as sales lead. Going through different sides of our portfolio here at BASF, we basically have essential ingredients, so vitamins, and also we have performance ingredients such like enzymes, organic minerals, and other products. So have roamed around those different portfolios in different roles, and I'm now here in the US for 3 years, helping the team on the enzyme side to develop the market here in the US.
Beautiful. So let's get started. I'm really curious to learn a little bit more about the perspectives. What can we expect for the next following 4 years of Trump's administration? And the first question is a little bit broader, but how do you anticipate this new Trump administration impacting the feed industry?
That's the question, $1 million question, right? I'm not really an expert on government affairs, a little bit more into the feed industry, but I think it's pretty clear to everybody that the new agenda of the Trump administration may cause several opportunities and risks depending on how you're positioned and how your company's positioned over all of this logistics, purchasing strategy, and so on. So basically, I can start here also sharing a little bit with everybody what is the current status, because this is also developing as we speak, right? We are recording now on a Thursday, January 23rd. News are coming every day. We had expected, by what the administration said, that new tariffs, for an example, would start to be applied right in the first day of the administration, but that was somehow postponed. So Trump signed an executive order, which puts now the government agencies to go deeper into their existing tariffs, existing agreements with different regions, with different countries, and they have up to April 1st to come back with suggestions. Maybe new tariffs. For who those tariffs are going to be applied, nobody still know. How steep can be those different tariffs? Also, nobody yet has an information. But what we know is that he's really pushing specifically now for Mexico and Canada some very aggressive tariffs starting February 1st. So that's all very interesting. It's happening, as I said, as we speak. So a lot of unknowns, but all of the companies need to be prepared for those situations, right? We learned already from the first Trump administration how that developed. So during his first administration, just to refresh a little bit our minds here, he applied also several waves of different tariffs, specific products destinated to a specific country. So those also came in aggressively, and everybody had to prepare. So we know this is coming, but how do we then prepare for those impacts? It's very important. Yeah. Um, Maybe one quick suggestion from my side, but what we are also doing here is basically very simple SWOT analysis. Yeah, you can differentiate from the strengths, weaknesses. You can identify, maybe looking into a broader perspective on the U.S. You can identify already pretty quickly where is the weaknesses and where Trump is really trying to protect the U.S. economy, and also do a lot of investments into what is really the key for the success of the country in the longer term. Yeah. So we really need to look then, after this broad aspect, we need to look internally into our companies and see how this is shaping up for us. And not only for us, but also looking into your value chain. You need to look 2, 3 steps behind you in the value chain from your suppliers. It's very important that they also look ahead of you, and how those tariffs, how this new economic scenario might impact your customers and your supply chain base. Yeah, it's key because Ricardo, a lot of the feed ingredients, very from the essential ones and also performance ones, a lot of them are produced abroad. So we have a lot of material coming from China. We have material coming from Europe. So we really need to strategically look into those different suppliers and different purchasing strategies to mitigate possible risks. Yeah, so it's really a holistic view. Um, it's based on scenarios, as we don't know yet exactly what is gonna come from the government. But I think you got ways, yeah, to identify and try to mitigate the risk before they come. So it's a scenario based analysis, but you really need to do that with your team to avoid that those impacts come in a situation that will not give you any chance to react.
Okay. So yeah, that's an interesting overview of the new scenario, and yeah, that was something actually that I was not understanding very well in the beginning, like when U.S. government and Trump was mentioning the new tariffs over Mexican products, Canadian products. That did not make a lot of sense in my mind. I was like, okay, those are important partners, economic partners, But then, as we talked, I understood, okay, this is actually is a way to create new barriers for companies from China, for example, who are that are establishing factories in those countries to avoid the earlier tariffs that were created to block Chinese products. So it's a way of like basically avoiding those competitors. And I wanted to ask a little bit more about specific tariffs. But just before I do, I remembered something, Tiago. How do you see like the impact? Do you see the internal national USA industry actually what's the best word, working to meet some of those needs? As I mentioned, lots of the things, even in the supply chain, lots of the things produced and used come from other countries. do you see the United States industry actually working, creating new factories to, basically provide those things that would come from other countries? Just a quick question on this.
Yeah, I think that that's a great question because also in the previous administration, there was a lot of investments and supports given for specific or parts of the U.S. which was saw still on the weak side. So we had a lot of also investments being done on this AI side, structure for those type of tech companies, but we also see a lot of developments on this sustainability side of things, right? Which then it's a little more connected to our industry. So yes, there is U.S. companies are investing, of course, to mitigate those risks that comes from other regions, from other countries. Nonetheless, several of those investments are also not cheap. Yeah, so there are ingredients that we know that yes, majority of the investments are being done abroad, and it's not quickly to be done in the U.S. So there is this risk management that everybody really need to be careful when we are looking, especially on the government assessment of those type of ingredients. They were not, let's say, taxed in the first administration. I personally think that we still might have a situation which is similar because if they start to impose a lot of tariffs for essential ingredients which are not produced in the volume that our US industry needs to consume, that is basically creating a high risk, yeah, to the whole logistics, to the whole food chain and feed chain. So that's a very sensitive topic, but we need to understand how those countries that might have new tariffs, how they are going to retaliate. Yeah. So I think that this is the task that is in the desk of those government agencies. Those guys really need to now do this proper judgment now, so we can see how it's going to be the outcome.
Perfect. And now talking about specific tariffs that could be introduced. Which tariffs do you predict could be coming and put in place, and how they will affect the feed industry?
That's also a great question. So we need to really look into the at the end of the day, which are going to be the products that they might be that they might have new tariffs. Yeah. In the first administration, and we know that very well, they were, of course, selecting very clearly the HS code. So you can identify the different product categories. So to say, it's a very easy way to explain how it works. And you would apply tariffs for that specific product group, for an example. Yeah. And we know that they were selecting in a very good criteria. They were taking really time to avoid those kind of situations because, from one hand, if you start to impose tariffs into products that are really not produced in the volume that is needed for the U.S. market internally, that can cause first effect. It's inflation, right? There is a high possibility that the users of those products are just passing the new cost through the chain. It might end up in our pockets at the end of the day, right? So there are inflationary risk here for those tariffs, but also on competitiveness and how those countries will retaliate, yeah, over US. So they can retaliate with tariffs for products that are really exported from the US to those countries. So that also can create several different economic scenarios. We can have a lot of these products then sitting in the US, which might then lower their costs, lower the inflation. We saw that first time when Trump also increased tariffs. There is a quick shift in our industry, in our feed industry, for an example. the powerhouses, U.S., Brazil, they shifted a little bit how the swine meat, poultry meat are exported. Brazil, at the end of the day, back then, were capturing a little bit of the market, which was then not being taken by the U.S. So this dance is really interesting to see as soon as those tariffs are applied. Yeah, so those scenarios are very clear. Who might be the winners? Who might be the losers? But those scenarios are just clear as I say when we understand exactly where the tariffs are coming and where they are going, right? And the level of those tariffs. So it's a very dynamic scenario. Everybody, I think, understands very well how they can shape up the dynamics of the economics here in the US. And yeah, we need to be really prepared on the different scenarios to have a quick reaction.
Just to visualize a little bit, like for, I don't know, a farmer in the audience, especially like a pig farmer, right? Someone that produces pork. It's been tough. Like the last 2-3 years have been tough with high feed costs and low pig prices. So depending on the dynamics, and it's a very dynamic and complex scenario here, because again, you can predict the first actions, but the chain of things that will happen from that, I don't know, retaliation from other countries, for example, those are a little bit harder for us to predict, right? But this can affect a lot. We're gonna have to pay a lot of attention on what's gonna be happening in the coming months and years.
Exactly. To build a little bit on what you just said, and I like it a lot because, yes, we are talking a lot about the administration, tariffs, and everything related to this main topic. Nonetheless, if we move a little bit besides tariffs, yeah, let's go a little bit to the biosecurity side of things. And if we go back also maybe to 2018, if my mind is correct now, there was this huge ASF in China. So China is the largest consumer of pork meat, right? At the time that they have this ASF, Ricardo, as you said, it was so dramatic that not even taking every exporter in the world, everybody was not able to compensate the gap that China had at that point in time. So that's how these disruptions can really reshape the whole economics. And as you said, it has a direct effect into the farmer here in the US, farmer in Brazil, a farmer in Spain, for an example. So sometimes we think a little bit on this broader perspective, but if we narrow down, it's exactly what we are doing on a daily basis. So I remember very well in that time that it was so disruptive, that situation, which Brazil didn't have a significant share into pork exports. Yeah. But suddenly what happened is that Brazilian producers were eager to export to China. So prices were very attractive by them. And suddenly, what happened is that I was in Brazil at that time, and the pork meat in our supermarket started to get more expensive. Basically, because all of the meat was going to China, and then it's inflation. We were not able now to compete with China. They were paying a better price. They were the ones chosen to be sold the meat, and suddenly in Brazil we had a defect. So you can see it's just like a snowball. It can pick up really quickly. That's why we need to be prepared. Of course, those kind of biosecurity things which we are mentioning now have improved in China. Here in US also, we have been facing those biosecurity issues since then. We have ASF in US. We have the avian influenza. There is also shaping a little bit, especially the prices for poultry. I have been here for the last 3 years. And also when I'm buying the turkey for Thanksgiving, for example, in the last years, it has been also a little bit of a challenge because they were also very affected by the avian influenza. So yes, it's really dynamic, but those factors need to be also included in your mitigation risk or to your evaluation of risks from your company and how you are positioned. Again, you need to have a very structured also analytics on your logistics, your suppliers, and etc. to make sure that you can counterbalance a little bit of those factors. But yeah, they are really disruptive, and they come each day. It comes. It seems that they come faster. Yeah, from the full value chain.
Interesting, Tiago. Yeah, and yes, I can recall the ASF issue that China had, and the prices raising here in Brazil on our shelves for pork meat. And it's crazy because, like, I don't know. Yes, if China is paying more to import our pork, yes, producers will prefer to sell to China instead of putting in the market. It's of course it's there. Like if you can sell for more, you sell for more. That's
Exactly.
the way. But even like if you think about I don't know. I'm not an expert in the subject, but when I think about it, depending on the actions you have, you might start. Okay, prices are high, so you can increase pig production, and then suddenly 1 year, I don't know, 2 years later, things are established there in China, and then you have a bigger infrastructure producing more pork, and then the prices go down because you have a oversupply. And yeah, it's a very complex thing here we're talking about. I love it. And but you brought biosecurity as an example here of like besides tariffs, other things that can impact the feeding industry. Which other factors do you think, besides tariffs and biosecurity, should impact the feeding industry?
That's also a very good question, because we can now maybe play a little bit with this maybe agenda of the U.S. Administration now that is has taken now this January 2025, uh, and connect a little bit with the points here, right? So first, maybe sustainability. This is a key factor, yeah, that can really shape our industry. Um, a lot of actions, a lot of investments going into sustainability side of things. A lot of big targets, not only on governmental side but also on the corporation side, were placed. Yeah, 2030, 2050, several targets that are really focused on reducing the carbon footprint, and so on and so forth. But the agenda of the new administration seems that they are not focusing so much into those actions. So this is now also something which we will really need to look very closely, how this is going to develop. Personally, I think sustainability is very important. Yeah, not going into the philosophy side of things, but this is key for humanity. But how quick this will need to be implemented, it's the key, right? I think that there was several, again, yeah, targets that were really pushing this agenda very much. But let's see now, yeah, if that slows down a little bit and how this is going to shape. But this is a key point of investment, of long-term strategy, and how you would position your company facing this key topic. Yeah. Beyond sustainability, there is also one topic here which is also in the new Trump or the new administration agenda, which is immigration. Yeah, and why we are talking about immigration and feed industry? It's basically we don't know how much um, this immigration policy can affect the labor costs in the U.S. Yeah, we know that the immigrants they usually work on the farms. They work in several other activities that really supports the industry. So, how extensive is this immigration policy will be placed here? It's a key factor, yeah, because there might be labor shortages. Uh, they can become more expensive. Inflationary topics can come again, and so on and so forth. So very, very important topics, not easy ones to solve. Again, a little bit unclear path forward, but we need to make sure, again, yeah, to evaluate and mitigate those risks uh, according to the development of the new administration coming in. Yeah. But also, besides sustainability, besides immigration, we have our traditional points here, which is regulation. Yeah, this is also something which the administration say that they want to ease up, maybe regulations. But we know that this is a sensitive topic here for feed industry. It's very important, the regulatory part of the industry. Um, but again, we need to see the development, and this is key for also shaping a little bit different products, different strategies. This is really going deep into the existing package and tools that the vets have in their hands, nutritionists have in their hands. So shifts here can move very quickly, but also it's less expected that those changes comes like with a simple signature from Trump, because they're really key here for the health of the whole industry. Yeah.
Okay, so we're thinking about sustainability agenda, immigration, and regulatory aspects of things.
Yes, biosecurity, as we said, right?
Yes, biosecurity as well, the tariffs and everything. Yeah, it's tricky for me. Like when I think about sustainability, I think about a lot about it. For me as a consumer, this is something I do consider. But when I put myself in the shoes of producers, whatever type of production we're talking about, all the industries, right? At the end of the day, you have commitments with your payments. You need to pay your bills. You need to make something that is profitable, right? You want to, and that's more than fair, right? We work so we can have our money to do our stuff. So for me, and that's a very personal perspective, I don't know how easy it's very easy to think about and to bring ideas, putting them in action. It's not as easy, right? We know there's a lot of external influence, but we we know that it is expensive for corporations to be more sustainable, right? If you want to have a more sustainable chain, buy from companies and organizations who also have a more bigger respect for the environment and they care of how they do things. This costs more, right? It is more expensive. So if you're competing, and at the end of the day, you need to pay the bills. If you're increasing a lot of your cost and you're not getting the demand you expected because you're raising your cost, at the end of the day, you're losing market. People will buy from other companies who are not taking care of their footprint as you are. So in my view, and again, I did a long a long story to say this. Why don't our governments think more about incentives for those sort of things? So if it's more expensive for me to be competitive, maybe taxes should be lower, lighter on me because I'm being sustainable. I'm being good to the environment and the world. So why aren't they taxed in a different way? I don't know. I'm not an expert in any governmental aspects, finances, and everything. But I don't know. I think we should start thinking a little bit more about this.
Yeah, I like it very much, Ricardo. Just one addition on my side here, from a non-expert to another non-expert. Then, but one of the things which I think sometimes people forget is that the industry is around the sustainability. The industry in the last decades is always doing more with less, and this is the beauty. So there is precision nutrition, there is precision health products, which are making our industry much more sustainable than 10, 20, 30 years ago. It's
There was
incredible.
progress. We're not talking
Yes,
about, yeah, okay.
exactly. It's amazing how the industry have progressed. Um, but again, we can spend another podcast talking about it and how different people view it. But that's very important, yeah. And sometimes I feel that uh, personally saying this topic can derail a little bit. Yeah, again, until those very aggressive targets, being from a country or a state here in the U.S. and how the animals should be produced. Sometimes not so much science based, in
Not
my
aligned with
perspective.
reality.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then it puts the producers into those very challenging situations, which financially, yes, it's very hard to survive.
Yes, no, those are complex topics, just as immigration and other things. So, and for us to wrap up here, Thiago, it's been a very good conversation. And again, I love when we have the opportunity to talk about these time-sensitive things because we can expect change in the near future. So everyone needs to be tuned, and the more informed we are, the better. So, would you say like what is the outlook, the future outlook for the animal nutrition and feeding industry in the coming years? What are you expecting? Your perspective.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Ricardo.
No crystal ball.
Well, yes, yes. I mean, when we look to data and how it's developing, we still see, yeah, those emerging countries, they are holding the higher growth, yeah, for feed industry, animal production. So they have a higher growth expected, or organic growth expected for the years to come. Yeah. So more people, the population worldwide is still increasing, but it's mostly increasing in those regions. So that's why the organic growth can mostly come from them. And we see, let's say, U.S., Europe, with a lower growth percentage wise, for an example, but still is still growing. Yeah, um, and those factors which we have just mentioned: sustainability, biosecurity, regulatory topics. Those are the ones which I think is really gonna shape how this industry will gonna move in the coming years. Administrations, they come and go, yeah, but I think there is also this uh, now feeling that worldwide there is more protectionism from different countries, from different economic blocks. So this is something which we really need to pay attention to, and how those governments, as you perfectly said, how they are fostering their farmers, how they are fostering their own industries to progress. So this is key, and I think that this is going to be the key challenges here for the outlook on the animal nutrition. Um, I think we also mentioned a lot here on other topics that can influence directly how this huge industry might be moving forward. I think we need really to play a closer look and keep refreshing ourselves on what is going on. Again, not only in our country, looking holistically, getting your colleagues on a quarterly basis, on a half year basis, on a year basis. But we need to keep looking into those situations, moving a little bit the strategy here and there. That's basically what it's the standard on the industry, I would guess. Yeah, that we have the long term strategies in our companies. Nonetheless, we need to be really focused on those possible shifts to not be left behind. Yeah, it's every day things are coming really fast. AI is right there. I think this is
We
another
didn't even
huge
mention
topic.
technology.
Exactly. We haven't even mentioned that, but there are interesting potential savings also applying AI to different aspects of the whole industry. So yeah, a lot in our plate, and we have to be very um, close to those topics to make sure we can catch them in as fast as we can.
Get information to make smarter decisions, right? Tiago, thank you so much. It was a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. I love to discuss those topics, even though, again, I'm not an expert, but it helps me. And I'm sure it helps the audience as well to clarify their thoughts and bring new perspectives. So thank you so much for your time. Tiago, for people who are interested in learning more about your work or BASF, usually a LinkedIn page, but what is the best channel for people to engage and connect with you?
Yeah, LinkedIn would be perfect. I would love to answer any extra doubts if somebody has. Also, not a full expert here on government affairs, but I think I got a little experience here on how to mitigate possible risks and how all of those different disruptive moments which we had recently improved a little bit how we evaluate those disruptions coming to the future. So I appreciate Ricardo very much. I like very much this chat with you. I felt very good talking about it, and feel free to reach out by my LinkedIn page.
Awesome, perfect. For our audience, thank you so much for tuning in, connecting with us, and learning a little bit more, engaging with our conversation here today. And I hope to see you all on our next episode. Thank you so much.